Okay, this is part 8. If you haven't seen part 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, the description is where those links are housed for you to view them with your eyeballs. Okay. So now, the power is out in New York, and Electro is like that. And Spider-Man is just, he's like, he doesn't understand what can he do, how can he beat him. Electro starts, we see him, we see like electricity, bits of it just coming from out of darkness, just going to him, and it starts going quicker and quicker, and we see him go, ah! And he's charging, and Spider-Man is like, what happens when you overcharge a battery? It explodes. And we hear him going through this all. He's like, perhaps there's some way I can get him to overcharge himself. Some way I can get him to turn on the generator and collect too much energy from it. And Spider-Man looks at the generator. And then he looks at Electro and he says, hey, Sparky, man, you're making all this ruckus. You're waking up all the neighborhood kids. And then Electro goes, and he tries to shoot him. Spider-Man jumps out of the way. And he said, you know, I am really surprised. You could say that I'm shocked with you. And then Electro goes, shut up. And Spider-Man goes, yeah, that wasn't a good one. Sorry, let's do it again. Let's do it again. I said I was shocked. And then he shoots another electricity thing, and Spider-Man jumps out of the way. And he said, I need some better material as he's running. It's kind of a joke to the audience. Whatever. Okay, so now Electro he's like kind of big, and he's all glowing. And he's like charged. He is charged. Cut to Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock is, he's like on the roof of the Daily Bugle, and he's in the helicopter, and the pilot is turning on the helicopter and everything's going and stuff, and the helicopter pilot's like, we don't have the instruments aren't working because of the power outage. And Eddie Brock's like, we need to get there. Can you fly this thing without the instruments? And the guy's like, yes, but that's dangerous. Eddie's like, listen. I'm a reporter, okay? I'm a journalist, okay? We can do it. We're safe. I'm Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock Jr. What's your name? And he's like, Steve. He's like, all right, Steve, listen. We need to get to wherever the source of this blackout is. We need to figure out why. We've got all these people running rampant. We got this Shocker guy, this Schultz dude, Shocker or whatever. We got some Rhino dude, calls himself the Rhino. He's driving down traffic and all this stuff. And now we got this big electric guy. All of this stuff is happening. Listen, we need to get there. I'm Eddie Brock, a part of the Daily Bugle. Steve, are you a part of the Daily Bugle? He's like, yes. He's like, do you want to see the Daily Bugle succeed? And he's like, yes. He's like, well then, let's get to getting. Come on, man. We don't have much time. Come on. We're the Daily Bugle. We are the people. We give the people news. We want to give the people news, right? And Steve's like, yeah. He's like, well, come on then. We need to keep going. We need to go. And Eddie Brock's really dedicated and really serious and stuff. And it's passionate. And it's kind of a funny scene. It's passionate. And Steve is like, okay. He's like, all right, then, let's go. Why are you standing there? Come on, I need some energy. Come on, we need to go. We need to get there. We need to go. And he's like, okay. All right, let's do it. Let's be for the people. He's like, let's be for the what? Before the people. The people of what? New York? Yeah, there we go. Let's get this helicopter going. Let's get there. Then we see the helicopter start, and it takes off, and we hear them on the like the headsets, and they're like, and Eddie's like, okay, fly this thing a little bit better than you're flying, because it's kind of like, and he's like, I don't have any instruments, remember? He's like, all right, well then let's go. And then they go. So now we cut back to Spider-Man. And Spidey is now, he's like hiding behind something, and Electro is looking for him. And he's like, you think you can hide from me, Spider-Man? You're gonna jump out and try to kill me again? And Peter's like, try to kill him? And then Electro, he vanishes behind him. We saw like it was kind of a shot when Electro was behind, and now he appears in front of Spider-Man, and he has his hand on Spider-Man's throat, and he starts flying up. And as he flies up, electricity is flying everywhere, and Spider-Man is like that, and he's holding him by his throat, and the grasp is beginning to thicken, and we see it begin to like turn his neck red. It's a symbiote, remember. It begins to turn his neck kind of like a hot red. And we see electricity is flowing. And then Electro says, "You were going to kill me?" And they're all up in the air. And he goes, and we see the electricity flying into Peter and flying through him. And Peter goes, and all that. And then he's like, "You were going to kill me? Well, now I'm going to kill you." And then we see him just, and all that, and electricity just flying and jumping off of him, and it's just jumping off, and it's all that, and it's crazy. And then Electro goes, while he's choking him, and we see electricity fly even more through him, and Peter is, and then Peter tries to punch Electro, and he punches him, and it's like an explosion, and he gets rocketed out of Electro's hand, and he hits the ground, and he's on the ground like that, like he got tased, like that. And Electro's like, and we see his face, you know, like come back. It was like a kind of an explosion from it, then it comes back like that. Electro goes, "You done goofed up, Spider-Man. You're done." And like that, and he's real mad, he's real menacing. And he starts, like shooting a whole bunch of electricity. Spider-Man's still on the ground. And then we hear, toot, 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 toot. And Spider-Man, he then jumps up. He does this like roll, jumps up. And he jumps up towards Electro and kicks him right in the face, causing another explosion. Boom! Spider-Man flies back and hits this, like, one of the electrical field thingies. He goes through it. It's this, like, mini explosion. And he falls and he hits the ground. And Electro, and he's now on the ground. And he's on his feet. And he looks at Spider-Man. He's like, "You're not going to hurt me. You can't." And Spider-Man, again, he's on the ground. When electricity is coming towards him, he jumps up and he like does this spinning kick right to Electro's other side of his face. Boom! And another explosion, making Spider-Man fly back even further now. And he flies through some more of the electrical grid thingies. And now Spider-Man, he hits the ground. And he's sitting there, "Oh, I can't take much more of this. How do I get this power on?" And it's Electro, and he's like, "You're not going to hurt me. You're only killing yourself. Please let me do the honor." As Electro, he begins to walk towards him, and Spider-Man jumps up in the air, and he jumps and does this flip, and it sends a kick right down onto Electro's forehead, or like on the top of his head. So it was like, doom! And Electro goes down, and it's another explosion. Spider-Man flies up, and Electro goes straight toward the ground, and Spider-Man's up in the air. So it's like, doom! And Electro hits the ground, and Spider-Man is now in the air because of the explosion, and he's like that, and then he's like, and we hear him say, "I can't move," and he hits the ground, doom, 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 and it looks very violent, like how he hits the ground. He's like, doom, like he lands right there, doom, and he's like, power, and Electro's on the ground now. And then we see Electro, like kind of turn into electricity. Like he turns into electricity. He's not solid now, and he vanishes. And Spider-Man is on the ground, and he looks like that. He gets up, and he's like cracking everything. He's like, what in the world? I didn't sign up for this. And he's looking, and he's like, okay, the generator. Where's Electro? And he looks up like straight ahead, and there's this Oscorp thing. It says Oscorp, and it looks to be like a control room. So Spider-Man, he does this like web slingshot thing, or web catapult, well, not catapult, but like he pulls himself back, choom, and he goes straight through the glass into the control room, and he lands, and he's looking around, and he hits the button that's supposed to be for the power of the generator, and it's not working. He's like, oh my goodness, okay, there needs to be a backup generator. There has to be a backup generator somewhere. How do we get that to work? How do we get that? And then he jumps out, and he's now climbing on top of the building. He's getting to the roof of it, and he gets to the roof, and there's the satellite, and the satellite is like, he's facing this way, and he's like, what is this? What is this doing? Is this relaying information? And Spider-Man, he looks, and he sees this small red generator. He's like, that must be a backup generator. It looks like one to me. He goes up to it, and it looks like it's gas powered. And he goes up to it. It's like the lawnmower thing. And he goes, and it doesn't work. And he goes, and it doesn't work. And he's like, boom, and it's like really quick, doom, and it's like, you know how a generator goes. And then he runs, he climbs like over the roof, and he lands. So he jumps off the roof, and he's going out, and he webs, and he swings back into the control room, and he sees it, and he sees now that the things are like going up, and he looks out, and he can see that the poles are beginning to light up, and he looks at the generator. That generator's still off, and he hits the button, doom, and then it turns on, and then we see Electro come out of so behind him it was like some screens, and we see Electro come out of them now. He comes out of them, and boom, it shoots Spider-Man right through the window. Spider-Man hits the ground, and Electro is like, you thought you were gonna get rid of me? Well, you just turned on the power. Big mistake. Cut to Eddie Brock. Now, Eddie Brock is flying in the helicopter, and he's looking over at the bridge, and he's looking at the plant, and he's like, he sees like lights and stuff happening, like lights lighting up. It's because there's a blackout in New York, and he looks at it, and he's like, there, we need to go there. He goes there. So the helicopter now is going there. All right, cut to Spider-Man. Spider-Man is on the ground, and Electro is like, now we'll see how much power I really can get. And he starts like growing in size, and Spider-Man looks up, and he's like, oh boy. And he starts growing in size. Spider-Man looks at the generator, and he's like, Electro, I need you to get that. Please, I need you to get that. And Electro is growing in size, and he begins like just just like sending out so much electricity. Spider-Man jumps up, and he's web swinging, off of the little thingies, the little like pole thingies. He's web swinging. Electro is like shooting electricity through him, and he's big. He's shooting electricity through him, and Spider-Man is dodging all of it. And Spider-Man jumps off one of them, and he jumps like towards Electro. And he lands basically so Electro, think of Electro as being, I guess, 4 times his normal size, right? So he lands like on Electro's, I'm trying to think of a good representation. Okay, so like this pencil is Electro, right? And Spider-Man is this, like that, okay? So not 4 times size, but like that, okay? So Spider-Man lands like on his, like this, his like torso, and as he lands, we see electricity is flowing through Spider-Man, and we see it, and he's like, and he goes, boom, and electricity just goes, and it's an explosion. Spider-Man goes off like that, and he comes back, boom, boom, like that. And he keeps doing it, and Electro goes, and he starts, like, electricity just starts flying, and starts flying, and starts flying, and Spider-Man keeps going, and he's like back, and so the generator is back here, and Electro is stepping back with each, boom, it's like that, boom, like that, and he keeps stepping back, and Electro, then he pulls out his arms, and he goes, and it starts like so Spider-Man is about the size of like his torso. Electro has grown that big. So he keeps hitting up Max in the face. Boom! And he keeps stepping back. Max takes his hands out. We see the electricity. And he's aiming it at himself, at Spider-Man, but himself also. And Spider-Man is boom, and Spider-Man keeps going back. And then it's like, shh. Now, Eddie Brock is coming up and he can see it. And he's like, what's that? And Eddie Brock takes out his camera and he's taking pictures and he's taking pictures. And then he pulls out, it's like Steve has this like screen like in the front of the helicopter. And when they get close to the fight, when they can see it, all of the powers, the electricity, the electrical powered things in the helicopter light up. And he cuts it, the screen comes on, he's like, the camera, get the camera, turn the camera on now. And they turn the camera on and we can see, it's like an overhead view of Spider-Man just punching Electro and the explosions and Electro and like all that. And Eddie is looking at it and he's taking pictures. He's like, whoa, what's going on here? It's like, this is that electric guy. And he's looking at it and all that. And it cuts back to Spider-Man. And he hits one more time. Boom! Spider-Man is Electro's like, shh. Spider-Man looks over at the generator and he's like, okay, this could hurt. And he webs the generator. He webs at the generator. And the web is going, so we see it come out. And it's going to the generator. And it hits the generator. And then we see the electricity is coming back to, so it's shooting, the electricity is coming from the web to the generator, and now it's coming back from the generator through the web. Spider-Man quickly snaps, like he sticks the web onto Electro, and he jumps off of Electro, and he lands on the ground, and he like lands, he's not on his feet, he lands just straight like on his stomach, just like, okay, that's not his stomach, but he tries to land and it's like that, straight on his stomach. And he looks up and we see Electro and then we see like the thing on his head is become green, green, yellow, yellow, red, 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 red. And Electro goes, and he's like that, and Spider-Man's looking at him, and Eddie's taking pictures, and he's filming it. And then the generator begins sparking, and the generator's sparking, and Electro's, and the generator keeps sparking, as things all around him start sparking and sparking and sparking, and the sparks are flying, the sparks are flying. And then the generator, the red generator at the top, begins to spark, 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 and then Electro goes, yeah! And he completely blows up. Electro blows up. The generator at top, on top of the control thing, blows up. That's a gas generator. It blows up. The generator that was connected to Electro blows up. All of the little tower thingies blow up, and it's this explosion. The helicopter that Eddie Brock is in, it gets hit by the shockwave and electricity, and it begins to spin out of control. It begins to spin. And they're like, oh, and they're spinning. And then when they're about to hit the ground, Spider-Man connects a web to their helicopter, and he basically pulls it that way. It doesn't do a crash landing, but it like kind of skids. And it lands on the ground. And everything is all smoke and debris filled. And it's just, it's all the aftermath of the fight. And we see Electro's little thing that was on his head. And it's no more, it's nothing, it's no light or anything. And then the power in New York comes back on. Like we see the cityscape come back on. And Spider-Man, he's on the ground again after he saved, like, after he webbed up the helicopter that way, when like land on his like side or face, like head, it made it skid. And he's back on the ground again, like Eddie Brock and Steve, they get out there perfectly fine, and they go up to Spider-Man. And Spider-Man looks up at him. And they're like, oh my goodness. And they don't really know what to say. And they help Spider-Man up, and Spider-Man looks at him, and he sees that it's Eddie. And he doesn't say, Spider-Man doesn't say anything. And Eddie looks at, he's like, Spider-Man, are you all right? This was amazing. We got a lot of this on film. It's crazy, good, amazing. You saved us. You stopped the electric bandit or whatever. And Steve is in shock, and Spider-Man is standing there looking at them both. And then choop 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 choop, Spider says tingling, and the building behind them, the generator exploded on, the fire, it exploded. The fire is now, that whole thing is on fire, and the roof falls, and the roof falls down. And when that roof falls, it hits the part where Spider-Man was in with the control, and that hits, and that falls, and then the building comes tumbling down. Spider-Man webs Steve and Eddie up, and he gets them, and he like begins to jump over the helicopter, and he like lands and runs, and Eddie's like, wait, stop. We got to get the footage from the helicopter. And Steve's like, I already got it. And he pulls out his phone while he's on Spider-Man's, like, back. And so he's pulling out his phone, and his phone flies out of his hand. And Eddie is like, Steve! And Spider-Man jumps over the helicopter, and they run, and he jumps away out of the way of the building. The building lands on the helicopter, and he puts Steve and Eddie down, and he pulls out, he like does that to Eddie, and Eddie's like, what? And Eddie pulls out his phone, and he's like this, and Spider-Man takes it, and he like hits 911 and hit dial, and he gives it back, and Spider-Man jumps, and he webs away, and he webs up, like he just web swings away, and Eddie and Steve are in shock, and they're looking, and then Eddie's like, come on, Steve, really? What was up with that? Why you pull the phone out? And Steve's like, I'm sorry, I didn't, really? You pulled the phone out when we're being, and it cuts from that. It was like just a little comedic moment. Spider-Man is web swinging away, and he gets this, and his phone begins to ring. He pulls out his phone. As Gwen Stacy. So now we see the mask go like that. So there's no mask on now. He's wearing the Spider-Man suit. It's red and blue still. It's been red and blue. He pulls it out, and he answers, hello, Gwen? I'm so happy that you called. And then there's nothing. It's just air. It's just air on the phone. And Peter's face goes, Gwen? And then we hear laughing. Peter his face turns real serious. And it's Harry. Harry says, hi, Peter. How are you? I watched your fight. And Peter goes, what are you doing with Gwen's phone? I really watched your fight, and I just have to say I'm so impressed. You really showed Electro who's boss. You know, he was going to kill you. That was his goal. But, you know, you stopped him. That was great. You killed him. And Peter's like, I didn't kill anyone. He's like, where's Electro, Peter? You killed him. Just like you are responsible for my father's death. You and your father. I think it's just the Parker thing. It runs in your blood. Peter goes, Harry, where's Gwen? I mean, everyone around you just seems to, unfortunate things seems to happen to him. Your uncle, Gwen's father, Electro. I mean, now who? Now who's next? Is it Gwen? Is Gwen next? Peter says, Harry, stop whatever you're doing. This is not between Gwen and you. This is between you and I. Leave Gwen out of it. Harry, please. Peter. My father created an empire. He created an empire. And now he's gone. Who's to blame for that? Whatever happened, I don't know. I have nothing to do with it. Harry, please. Leave Gwen out of it. Where are you? We can speak. We can talk. You want to talk? We can talk. Look to your left. Peter looks to his left and there's the bridge. That's where we are. He hangs up and the mask comes. Spider-Man jumps out and he starts web swinging. And that's the end of part 8. I want to thank you for all watching. I want to thank all of you for watching. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for part 9. And subscribe if you're new. Comment. Hit the like button. All that jazz. Peace out. Peace. Peace. Peace out. Peace. Peace. Peace out. Peace. Peace out. Peace out, guys. Peace.
Venom 2 million.